All right, let's break it down with CBS Sports NFL analyst Bryant, McFadden, and Douzable in the building. Guys, we got to start right where it finished, and that's with the decision by Kirk Cousins on 4th and 8, throws the shallow crosser. I get TJ Hawkinson has been the guy all day long. Deuce, what did you make of that decision in that specific moment?
I mean, Kirk Cousins is a veteran quarterback, has played a lot of snaps in this league. And the one thing you have to understand is you have to go to somewhere near the sticks in that situation. Now, we saw earlier in this playoff scenario where Skylar Thompson was able to get, a 4th and 8 conversion to his running back, Jeff Wilson, out of the backfield after making 2 guys miss. But right there, a quick out, a speedo, you throw 5 yards, which is short 3 yards by the first down marker. Like Xavier McKinney, all you got to do is let him catch it and tackle him. And that's exactly what he did. Kirk Cousins usually knows you can't do that in that situation. And again, this will be something he can learn in the offseason. Unfortunately, he's going to have to learn that lesson in the offseason because he threw the ball short of the first down marker. Usually somebody that is a veteran like Kirk Cousins doesn't do something like that.
Yeah, I think clock management was an issue before the play was moving. When you look at offensively, it took them forever to get out of the huddle, and they had to rush to beat the play clock. So they started off on that 4th down play going in the wrong direction. And Leger, you know this. The same can be said for defensive players, clearly for offensive players. Going to the line of scrimmage and understanding and trying to get a glimpse on what you are getting from the secondary is very, very important because they had to rush to the line of scrimmage because I don't know if the play call came in late or whatever the case was. He didn't get the opportunity to see exactly what coverage the Giants were presenting to him. And I agree with you. You got to attack the sticks. Most importantly, it's 4th down. The season is on the line. You cannot settle for a 3-yard route, especially in man coverage.
Run after catch is never guaranteed, and that was the situation. Great play by the defensive end out of New York. But I got to think the headline here is Daniel Jones. The way he played in this moment was that of a franchise quarterback. And I think that's something that a lot of people outside of New York and inside New York have been waiting to say. I think they can say it now. B-Mac, Daniel Jones in this moment, 300+, 2 touchdowns, plays clean football, protects it, and scampers for another 70+. What did you make out of Danny Dimes' performance in this big spot?
I felt like before today's matchup, he already earned an extension from the Giants based on what he's done this season. Remember, throughout his professional career as a starting quarterback for New York, turnovers has been his Achilles heel. He's done a real good job of protecting the quarterback. In today's game, the most important game for the Giants this season, he showcased and balled out. If you didn't know any better, right? If you look at Daniel Jones today, he looked similar to what we've seen when Brian Daboll was calling plays for Buffalo with Josh Allen. When you incorporate what he did in the pocket, and then when you incorporate what he was able to do improvising outside of the pocket, he led the Giants today in rushing yards. We're talking about an offense that has a prolific running back. But guess what? It was Daniel Jones' day today in running the football. So kudos to Daniel Jones in becoming a more efficient, smart quarterback, and kudos for the offensive staff. Because if you remember last year, the year before, Daniel Jones was so inconsistent. He was more down than up. But this season, he's found his consistent stride. And like I said, watching him today under this play caller and Brian Daboll and his staff, he reminded me a little bit of Josh Allen.
B-Mac, to your point, what's the famous Fat Joe saying? Yesterday's price is not today's price.
That's right.
Daniel Jones did a really good job being efficient with the football. You talked about it, B-Mac. In that first half, when things weren't there, he didn't force it down the field. He used his legs to scamper, led them in rushing like you talked about. And then, like you said, Mike Kafka did a really good job using him like Josh Allen. Some quarterback speed sweep, some quarterback powers, more specifically in the red zone. He was just really efficient with the football. I like how he's got a real rapport with Isaiah Hodgins ever since he came over. He went over 100 yards today. And then Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka made it easy. A lot of crossing patterns every time the Vikings were in man coverage. Slayton had a pivotal drop on 3rd down in a crossing pattern where he would have probably scampered for 25+ yards. But how many times did we see Saquon Barkley out of the backfield one-on-one with Eric Kendricks, and he beat him for 25+ yards? Isaiah Hodgins, same thing. On simple hitches, and right there, slant routes behind it. That's what they did. They made it easy for Daniel Jones. He was efficient with the football. And before this game, Moose and B-Mac, I think everybody would have thought that Saquon would have had 25-plus carries. He had 9 carries in this game. The game was really ran by Daniel Jones throwing the ball, using his legs, and then they passed to run the football, which was different from what the Giants had done all year long.
Offensively, defensively, looking like a terror squad. Sorry, I had to.
I like it.
Guys, as we take a look at this team, we've already talked about Bryant Daboll. We've given him his flowers throughout the season. But this is when you really earn that check, in these very moments. And he did just that, Deuce. When you're talking about Bryant Daboll in this spot, making the decisions he made, there was a 4th and very, very short, sub 50. And he says, it's what we've done all season. We're going, because that's our DNA. He really called this game true to who they were. Bryant Daboll told you what today?
That he's going to be unequivocally who he is no matter what the situation. He's not going to change up just because it's a pressure situation. They started this, Musso, in week 1 versus the Tennessee Titans. When they decided to go for 2 and go for the win, he told his team, we're going to be aggressive. And you saw it, like you just talked about it, Moose, in the 4th quarter. 4th and half a yard on their side of the 50, deciding to go for it, run some more clock off. You have to love the aggression from Bryant Daboll, but you also love that his team had his back, right? They believe in their head coach. He believes in them. He said, we're going to be aggressive from day one, and no matter what the situation is, we're going to stay true to who we are.
It was a playoff debut for a number of names on that roster. It was not for Bryant Daboll. He's been in big spots, but calling the plays, dialing it up the way he did, it deserves another tip of the cap. B-Mac, you've had your ear to the ground, obviously across the league, but specifically there in Minnesota, and I have some questions there beyond just the clock management and the decision late in this game. Justin Jefferson, 1 catch for 4 yards in the second half. Yes, that's going to be the guy they're taking away, but you can't allow them to. Did you take any issue with his usage here on Sunday?
No question. Number one, we heard going into today's matchup that Wink Martindale was not going to allow Justin Jefferson to have the success he had the first meeting against the Giants. Kudos to their staff in drawing up a game plan. But at some point in time, Joe, Lee, you got to make adjustments to get him involved. Move him around. Put him at the number 3, put him at the number 2, put him in the backfield. But you knew coming into this ball game, he was going to see extra attention. So with that being said, have a game plan in place to adjust to what the defense is giving him in regards to looks. We know how much he means to the Minnesota Vikings. And they were right there in regards to winning this ball game without Justin Jefferson. But if you had 18 just more involved, who knows what the outcome of this ball game would have been. So I was really disappointed to see the lack of production coming from Justin Jefferson. I feel like when you have a wide receiver of his magnitude, knowing that he's getting double coverage or knowing that he might get triple coverage at certain moments of the ball game, have a game plan in place to get him more involved, because Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback when he's throwing to number 18.
To that point, right, let's go back a few weeks ago when this team played the Buffalo Bills and had to have a historic comeback in that second half. We knew the Buffalo Bills were going to try to take Justin Jefferson away. Kevin O'Connell even talked about that after the game. Sometimes you just got to give your star players an opportunity. Whether they're double-teamed or triple-teamed, give him an opportunity. Kirk Cousins sometimes in the second half should have just force-fed the ball to Justin Jefferson. And to your point, B-Mac, move him around. Put him in some bunch sets so you get some rub routes. In that first meeting between the Giants, he did a really good job, Kirk Cousins, finding him in some zone coverage. Wink Martindale switched things up. Wherever he was at, they were bracketing him to that side and zoning away from the other side. But still, it's Justin Jefferson. We saw him on a 4th and 18 or 4th and 30 versus the Buffalo Bills. Go up with one hand and come down with the ball. You have to give your star players opportunities, especially with the game on the line.
All season long, these were the exact moments that the Minnesota Vikings thrived in. Down a score, 4th quarter, make something happen. They did not on this given night. 11-0 in the regular season in one-score games, 0-1 in the postseason, and that's the only shot you get in the postseason. They were a flawed team. We were worried about the defense all year long. Was the defense the fatal flaw in this game for you, Deuce?
I would say yes. I believe the Minnesota Vikings punted only 3 times in this game, so they moved the ball efficiently on offense. The issue was, right, their pass defense. It's been historically bad all year long. I believe Daniel Jones' 2 best games this year have come against the Minnesota Vikings, and not just Daniel Jones, most of the quarterbacks in the league that have played against this Minnesota defense, whether they are in man coverage, zone coverage, there's guys just running scot-free. So that's something they're definitely going to have to look at this offseason. And then that defensive line, they brought Zadarius Smith in. He brought a change of attitude to that front, but it kind of wavered down the back stretch of this season. Weren't really able to affect Daniel Jones as much. Now, Danielle Hunter had a big sack and forced the Giants to punt the ball. But other than that, you know, Daniel Jones was back there burping the baby, being able to chill with the football, and guys were running scot-free.
Yeah, I agree with you. I second everything you mentioned. When you talk about Daniel Jones, he's been an improving quarterback, but come on. I mean, the Vikings definitely helped him in regards to making him look like an all-pro in today's matchup. Schematically speaking, guys, with just two vanilla of coverages we've seen from the Minnesota Vikings, not just today's matchup, but throughout the course of the year. Nothing exotic. You're not disguising anything. You're just lining up and showcasing what you have in your hand. And if you're playing poker and you show the other players you're playing against what you have, you're going to lose. So when you're playing against these outstanding offensive minds, these prolific quarterbacks, it's okay to mix things up a little bit. Show them something that you're not doing just to be able to put yourself in a position to be successful. And when you talk about the zone coverages, too many holes in the zones. The guys in the second level and the third level clearly were not on the same page because, as you mentioned, Lejay, people were running around scot-free, wide open. So they have to find a way to improve their scheme, number one. And then if you do that, the energy, everything else, the production will follow. But this ball game, I don't want to say it was solely on the defense, but at some point in time where you're at home, you have to bow your back up and get a stop. Just one stop. Find a way to get a stop to give your offense extra possessions to do what they've been called to do. Unfortunately for the Minnesota Vikings, they were not able to get the extra stops they needed.
Well, the road ahead for the Vikings, we'll have all offseason to break it down. The road ahead for the New York Football Giants, it's the one-seeded Eagles. It's more divisional football. Dudes, as you look at that matchup, we're going to have all week to break that down as well. What's the first thing that jumps off the page at you?
To me, is can Daniel Jones have a repeat performance, right? We know that Philadelphia front four will get after you, right? They have two of the best corner tandems in the league as far as, you know, Bradbury on the outside and then Darius Slay. So will he be able to replicate that? I could see Saquon Barkley getting more involved in that game because that's the one thing this Eagles defense has been susceptible to, right? The run game. So Saquon Barkley, I guarantee he won't have only 9 carries in that game when they play the Philadelphia Eagles if they play the next round.
For me, I'm looking at the defense from the Giants. We just saw them face off against the Eagles over a week ago. Played mostly with their backups, but they made things very, very interesting with their backups. Now with their starters going against Jalen Hurts, can they be effective against Jalen Hurts? Can Dexter Lawrence and the crew create pressure on Jalen Hurts? Remember, Jalen Hurts was nursing a shoulder ailment. How healthy will he be? Will he be close to 90 or 100%? We don't know, but understanding and knowing what they're going against, seeing this team already twice this season, they should be extremely familiar with the Eagles and vice versa. But can their defense get the timely stops they were able to get today against the Minnesota Vikings? Because they have to do 2 things in regards to playing against the Eagles. Number 1, you got to stop the run, right? Number 2, you cannot allow the big splash plays. If you can keep everything in front of you, then they should be successful. But if not, it's going to be a long day. And not to mention, too, A.J. Brown. Right? You just played against an outstanding pass catcher in Justin Jefferson. You found a way to neutralize him out of the game plan. Can they do the same thing against A.J. Brown?
Mac Dews, great stuff. It's going to be bad blood in the divisional round. The NFC beast on display. 6-seeded Giants taking on the top seed in the NFC in the Eagles, who have been on ice, allowing that shoulder of the starting quarterback to rest a little bit longer. Don't know if he'll be at 100%, but he's going to give it his all against the Giants. Divisional matchup coming in the divisional round.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.